Hi, I'm Dave Caissy, founder of the Innovation Leaders Club. In this video, I'm going to cover a theme that we had back in 2024. The main theme for that year was innovation management, but into innovation program. So how you package innovation towards innovation program. So what is innovation program? It's multiple projects going towards the same direction, aiming at the same goal. And ultimately, it brings multiple benefits. So we made multiple videos. And if you look at the playlist, you will find some other video. But in this video, we're going to focus on the business management approach when you have an innovation program. So there's few tricks that we can use. And so first, one thing that is key is when it comes to innovation, there's a lack of funding, and so we have to move from R&D and marketing leaders to innovation leaders, and most of the organizations are getting towards that, and ultimately to become business innovation leaders. So that's kind of a new. So if you're innovation leaders, it's cool, but ultimately you will have to be able to be savvy in financing innovation. So you will have to bring business opportunities, not only innovation opportunities on the table. So ultimately you have to become a business innovation leader. So if you don't do that, ultimately you will leave a lot of money on the table and that you will not be able to capture through innovation. And this is one of the reasons why, especially at innovation program, we're trying to get as much as funding as possible to make the program to be as profitable as possible. And let's look at some trick. How can you finance innovation? So we funding at the innovation program, let's look at the first thing that can be done is to reserve budget 3 years in advance. Innovation program is about multiple projects. It's about multiple projects on multiple years. So at least we have a vision for 5 years in some cases, even program have vision for 10 years, but at least we can get pretty detailed in terms of planning for budget for the next 3 years. So this is how it can be done. This is an example that we had in the when we discuss the innovation program. That's the tool that we use. So you notice that we have an innovation investment, business results, we have active project, future projects, and ultimately we were able to look at the different numbers of resources and expense and capital expenditure, and ultimately we would provide financing like to give a planning for the management. So if you were to approve this project or this project, ultimately you're approving indirectly these projects and the extension that they're going to come in the next couple of years. So you don't get a check for all those projects, but showing where the program's going to go in the next few years, you kind of reserve budget. So most of the organization, what they do when it's time to plan for the budget at innovation level, they ensure that the innovation program get funded first, and the leftover money goes to the tactical projects or projects that are to sustain a current offering that are not within a program, innovation program umbrella. So it allows us to reserve indirectly money. And ultimately, even though you have a program and you give visibility of 3 years, you will not change the annual cycle of budget planning, which on yearly basis. But it gives you options for the next the year ahead, and because you have provided that visibility, and because people ultimately they would like to get that profitability. You see, in this case, we see the innovation investment, and then we can see the additional contribution, and ultimately people that have approved this budget, what they're looking for is to get those additional contributions. But in order to get those, we need to implement the program that's being proposed. So at program level, you either take the whole thing or you don't take it at all. So even though you get approval for the upcoming year, people most of the time clearly understand that they engage the organization for the upcoming years. Then the other tricks is also to seek external funding for a program, not for innovation program, for innovation project. I don't know if you have ever gone externally to look for funding, but it's a lot of effort. First, you have to find something like, or you have to find where you could get funding. Then you have to create connection with who's managing this. Ultimately, you have to build a demand, let's say for a grant, for instance. But that's a lot of work just for one project. But if you do it for a program, then it's worth it because you can reuse it on multiple years. So for those that are in Quebec, or it's the same for other places in the world, but there's an organization that their mandate is to help organization to find the simplest route to get to those grants. So in case of Quebec, which is a province in Canada where I'm located right now, there's about 800 people that's their specialty, and the aid organization and the funding programs, there are like 150 of them. So you cannot be expert on all of that. So there are people that's their job to support, and so don't search for grant or grant program that exists. Rather search for an advisor, and the advisor, they have the expertise, and if you have a program, they will be really motivated. In the case of Conseil d'Innovation du Québec, you fill a form, then you answer some of the questions, they can make an appointment, then they go the 360 of the organization, and all of that, you'll be able to reuse it on multiple projects within your program. That makes it create some kind of an economy of scale because the same effort being reused multiple times. Third trick is to share risks with the ecosystem. So there was a team back 5 years ago with the ecosystem, and we really did spend time on how you can share risk. Because if you don't share risk with your ecosystem and you innovate, then when you'll be successful with your innovation and you're going to generate more profitability, you can be sure that your ecosystem will share the benefits. So if they're to share benefits, ensure that they share risk upfront. And so we had this tool that we use. So it's like a solar system. You see the innovation professional being the sun, then there's the internal function within the organization, then the close external. And what was the close external? Close external was defined as being the partners. So that was one thing that we had. And how did we define partners? We said a partners is an organization that is willing to take risk with your organization. And that's how it defined partners. So they know where you want to innovate and they're willing to take some risk in order to support you. Ultimately, you will have to ensure as well that you share benefits with them. So, and the extended external, those are really the suppliers. Okay, so you pay for them, then they provide you a service, and that's it. So the question is, can I have some of the suppliers and bring them to the partner level? So looking at the innovation professional, like the internal, then the close external. Keep in mind, close external, the partners, and ultimately the extended internal. So look at those two extended external, you see, and I'm going to move them into the close external. So what it means, I'm going to make sure that they understand what I want to do as innovation, and I want to see if they're willing to take some risk with me. Let's say it's a supplier. Are they willing to develop a new process? Are they willing to test the process at their cost? But ultimately, if we deploy the innovation and it becomes successful, then they will be our supplier. So obviously you will have, if you're a manufacturer, for instance, you have to make sure you get involved with purchasing, because if purchasing do get involved afterwards and they look for the cheapest supplier, and you had a supplier that took some risk investing his own money in developing a solution for you, is going to be really frustrated, and you may also have some legal problem. I'll give an example for the research center. You know, this research center moved from extended to a closed external. So it means that you would share where you want to innovate, and this extended like this research center would let's say acquire new equipment. So for now, you're the only client using that equipment. Ultimately, they're looking to have other customer, but for now you're the first, and because you're head of your in your industry, and they will be willing to support you into developing whatever you have to develop. So you notice that it's not solely suppliers, not solely clients. It could be some others that could surround you and to support you into your ecosystem. The car industry and the aerospace industry, they're really good at using their innovation ecosystem to innovate and share the risk among the different suppliers. Let's say when they develop an airplane, for instance, Boeing, for instance, they do not develop the engine. They do not develop the landing gear. They do not develop the control for the cockpits. It gets all subcontracted to tier one suppliers that take risks to develop those. So last but not the least, it is to capitalize on product development. You notice that I'm talking about here product development. It has to be product or at least service that will become a product that you will sell, that you can capitalize. And this is something that we do really bad in North America. In Europe, they're much more better at capitalizing on product development. But let's look at the definition. A CapEx or capital expenditure, it's a business expense occurred to create future benefit. So you would do the expense today, but it would create a future benefit. Is developing a new product or a new service a future benefit? The answer is yes. So it should be capitalized. It's not, especially like in Canada, it is you have to capitalize, but most people don't, because they follow a similar approach in US, because most of US, which are on the general accepted accounting principle, do not capitalize product development, and that makes it so when you're to finance innovation, let's say if you double financing product development, then it will decrease the profit your organization. Well, because you get all of that at the expense. Look at the expense. It's the expenditure required for the day-to-day function of the business, like wages, utility, maintenance, and repair. So you notice that if you develop innovation like a product or service and you put it at the expenditure, it's like same thing as maintenance and repair, which makes no sense. So it's really about create future benefits. And what is interesting is if you look at here, we had some CapEx. So most of the time, organization, let's say a manufacturer, they will put tooling here, but they will not capitalize some of the testing that they're doing, neither the time of the people, but it can be capitalized. And if you capitalize, in most cases, it will give you access to funding internally that you didn't have. People, they find it very strange that it's difficult to get additional funding for innovation while they get funding for new equipment, building a new like a new building, or also acquiring making an acquisition, and because the capital is there, it's just that it's not accessible at the expense level. Keep in mind, when you're at the expense, more expense, less profitability. So ultimately, people try to be tight on expense to be more profitable. Then it generates profitability that people add those profitability over the years, and that capital money can be reused through innovation, but you have to know how to do it, and you have to talk to your financial director to bring product development at a capital level. And most of European companies are doing it quite well. So that's what I had for you to how you could some 4 tricks to finance innovation using program level. So I hope it was useful. Looking forward to see you in the next video. Cheers.
If you haven't already done so, you can get your hands on our popular 60-page visual guidebook for free. Click the link in the description below. Don't hesitate to watch the next video to learn even more about innovation management practices.